Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining the call today. My name is Thoennessen. I'm the founder and CEO of RiskRevu. And in today's call, we are going to talk about one category of our forms called risk evaluations. And I'm going to go through the different risk evaluations on our platform so you can see what they look like, and I'll give you some use cases and really dive deep into those forms. Before I do that, I wanted to do two things: give you a quick overview of the company, and secondly, give you a quick overview of the platform. So some of the people on this call today are existing users, and some are not. So I want to make sure we give everybody the information they need. So first of all, I started this journey, I say, about 5 years ago, when I identified an opportunity to improve the client experience through digital forms. And so at that point, I started building my own digital forms to gather information from clients and others. I think my first form was an annual renewal questionnaire, and that has seen many iterations since then, but it's been very successful. And so, over time, and maybe about 3 years ago, I started to say, well, I'm building all these forms myself. I saw, friends and colleagues of mine that were building their own forms and spending a lot of time doing that too. And so I said, there's an opportunity here to bring a product to the market so that agencies do not have to spend their time and money building out their own forms, that we're all, as agents, we're all doing the same stuff. And it can also give agents who aren't trying to build their own forms and just haven't even thought about it yet, give them a solution that they can just plug into their agency and start changing the way that they interact with clients overnight. And so that's where, I said, let's build out a product that can do that and deliver that to the agent community. And that's what RiskRevu is. We've been in business now almost about 2 years and are growing great. And these webinars are a function of me wanting to share my experience with the forms, with the platform, to help users and non-users who are interested really get a sense for what digital forms and smart forms can do for your client experience and for your agency. Okay, so today, we're going to talk about risk evaluations, but real quick, there's 3 types of forms we have. One is risk evaluations, which I liken to renewal questionnaires, but they're more than that, and we'll get into that. Second is new policy forms, which are used for new policies with clients. So sales efforts, they're otherwise known as intake forms. And the third category is service forms, that these are used with existing clients to improve the efficiency of day-to-day processes. Things like adding a car to a policy or changing a mortgagee on a policy. Okay, so now what I'm going to do next is I'm going to share my screen so everybody can see, and I'll do a quick overview of the platform for those of you who are not currently using the software but are interested. When a user logs into the RiskRevu platform, this is the first screen they see. If they are an administrator of the account, they would see this additional button here, Group Dashboard. If they're not an administrator, they would just not see the Group Dashboard, and I'll show you that in a second. So on this dashboard, the first thing a user will typically do is navigate to the My Account dropdown and hit the Edit Profile button. This is where they can set up their individual profile, where they can put their name, their headshot, their logo, contact information, a brief bio, and then select the forms that they want to use on their profile. And there's, as I said, there's 3 categories. The first category is risk evaluations right here. In order to have a form show up on your profile, you simply click the slider. Now it's off, now it's on. And you do that for all the forms that you want to show up on your platform. This button, I'll just say something quickly about this, activate Zapier webhooks. We have built out an integration with a company called Zapier, and this allows our form data to be sent automatically to over 1,500 other applications to create efficiencies. So it's a very powerful integration that we'll talk more about in the future. But again, same concept, turn on that turn that on and off by clicking the slider. Okay, so you go down through the forms and you select the ones you want and the ones you don't want. The next section is new policies. Select the forms you want, deselect the forms you don't want. So for example, if you don't sell life insurance, you can turn that form off and it won't show up on your platform, on your profile. Okay, I'm going to put that back on. Service policy options, same thing. Select the forms you want and deselect the forms you don't want. When you're down at the bottom, you hit Save Profile to save all the selections that you made. And then you can view your profile by hitting the View Profile. And this is what it looks like. These various buttons will navigate you to the various forms that you selected, very simply like that. Okay, so we'll go through that a little bit more. So let's go back to the dashboard. Again, just doing a quick overview here. The Forms button, which is both at the top navigation and in the middle of the screen here. If you select the Forms button, this is an area where you can see all the forms you selected as well. This is, say you wanted to share the annual personal risk evaluation through an email with a client. You would hit the Copy button. That will copy the link so that you can then paste it into an email. And say you want to preview the form to see if it's the right form for that situation. You can click on this hyperlink right here, and it'll bring you right to that form so that you can preview it. Okay. Going back to the dashboard, hit the dashboard button. Let's take a quick look at the response section. So anytime you send a risk review link to a client or other party, they will complete the form. They'll hit the submit button down at the bottom. As soon as they hit the submit button, they get a thank you screen that says thank you for submitting this form, and an email notification is sent directly to you as the user. In addition, that data is stored in your account, which you can then view by hitting this view button. Okay, and it shows you all the data right there. You can also print the submission. You could save it to a PDF to attach to your management system, so on and so forth. Let's go back to the dashboard. You can see how many responses you have received this month, and so that's just a quick overview of the system. Very simple, very easy to navigate. For administrators, they have the added bonus of the group dashboard, where they have the ability to see how many responses that the agency has received for that month, how many responses they have remaining, because our the different plans we offer have different amounts of responses allowed. We'll talk about that at the end. And the total responses since registration, how many seats they have, and then you can see all of the seats in that account right here. It shows some statistics as well, how many forms that user received that month and since inception. The administrator can also add a member right here from this dashboard. They can also view all of their sub-agents' responses if they wanted to take a look at that, or if they need to share those responses with someone else. Okay, so let's go right back to the dashboard. And now from here, I want to jump right into the risk evaluations and talk broadly about the purpose and the mission behind them, and then we'll dive into the actual forms. Okay, so starting with the risk evaluations, what is the problem that we're trying to solve? The problem is it's very time consuming to get updated risk information from clients. At the renewal, at remarketing, and so on. But it is very important to us as agents to make sure that we do collect that information so that we can accurately price the risk and so that we can accurately cover our insureds. So, in the past, it could be a PDF renewal questionnaire that might have been emailed or mailed to the client. The response rates on those is very low, but it is in errors and omissions protection. So the benefit of having it in a digital form is that it makes it super easy for us as agents to send that questionnaire to our clients but it also makes it very easy for the client to give us that data that we so desperately want. Okay, so let's see. And the point on this is that these risk evaluations are not meant to be used only at renewal. It's a great tool to be used at renewal, but our clients are doing things all year long. They're changing the occupancy of their homes. They are entering into business arrangements. Some are starting to do Lyft or Uber. They are placing their homes into LLCs and trusts. They're renting out their homes, so on and so forth. So these things happen all the time. And so these forms can be used in any situation where they are warranted. So let's jump right into the list. So to get to the risk evaluations, let me just go back real quick. You hit the risk evaluation button on the public profile. The other way you can get to them is through the forms button, and all the evaluation forms are here on the far left. I'm going to do it through the profile so we can see it in that format. So the first one is the annual personal risk evaluation. This one will ask questions about a primary home, a secondary home, valuable articles, auto, liability, and some commonly overlooked coverage updates. This form was designed based on many, I don't know, maybe 10 or 15 different annual renewal questionnaires that we found online, and it's an amalgamation of them, along with my experience in the personal insurance world is integrated into that. So the feature here is these checkboxes allow you to select the sections that you want to show up on the questionnaire. So if the person doesn't have a secondary home, they deselect that section. If they don't have their auto with you, you can deselect that. And the client, of course, can reselect it if they want to tell you about it. Then you go down through, provide a description of your home. This could be the Connecticut home. The question about the alarm system, it has conditional logic built in. So it asks, centrally monitored, fire, burglar, smoke, burglar motion, low temp, water leak detection. What risk management strategies do you employ? This is the generator, the gated home with perimeter fencing, lightning protection, seismic shutoff valve, hurricane shutters. Is there a trust or an LLC? Yes. What's the name of the trust? Any updates, renovations, additions planned recently completed? Tell us about the renovations. So you can see how the flow goes through here, and it just asks these broad questions that the insured can then check the box and move on. Has the occupancy changed? Yes, we're renting to a long-term tenant or unoccupied for greater than 30 days. Do you want a flood quote? Is any business conducted in the home? So, one of the nice things about these forms too is that there's a lot of questions that we as agents want to ask our clients, but sometimes we don't get the time to get through all of these things. The client can get through this form in 5 to 10 minutes. And we can get that updated information and the answers to these questions that we might not otherwise get without a lot of effort. Anything else you want to discuss related to your home? Then they go into the valuable articles. Give us your item description and value. Okay, we have some new fine art we want to talk about. Any of your valuable articles owned in a trust? Do you have any appraisals? If they have appraisals, there's an option to upload those appraisals right in the form. The next section is liability review. What is your approximate net worth? They can select the option. Tell us about your liability risks. And by the way, sometimes, we'll have $1 million umbrella for a client, and all of a sudden they tell us their net worth is 5 to 10 million. That's an opportunity to upsell that client right there. Tell us about your liability risks. We have a youthful driver. We own a pool. We own a foreign property, a domestic employee. They can just check the boxes that apply to them. Also, at the same time, those are giving us opportunities to cross-sell and upsell those accounts. Commonly overlooked coverages: building a house, buying and selling a property, change of marital status, child going to college. So these are all designed to allow the client to tell us some of the things that they might be thinking about that we might just not ask because of time or whatever. Are you ready to submit the form? When they hit the ready to submit the form, they hit the submit button. The thank you screen comes up next, and all that data is sent directly to the agent, to the user. While we're here, I do want to mention the Save and Continue button. This is a very amazing feature that we use and we offer. So if you hit Save and Continue, that will save that form so that you can then send the saved form to the client with your pre-filled information. So for the example with the annual risk evaluation, you can put the name of the client in, their email address, their phone number, and then send that saved link to the client so it looks customized and personalized. This link is then the link that you would copy and paste into the email address. I suggest that you put your email address in this send link box and have that link emailed to you as well so you don't lose it and so you can refer back to it. Okay? And that Save and Continue feature is on every one of our forms. Let's move on to the next form, Automobile Evaluation. I'll just zip through this. This is great for monoline auto risks that we just want to get some updated information. Are you doing Lyft or Uber? Paid off any loans? Any drivers away at school? Any new drivers? So on and so forth. Business risk evaluation. This is great for an annual business risk evaluation. Again, here are the sections: general operations, real property review, commercial auto, business staffing, coverage assessment. It asks a ton of questions that we might not likely get to ask all with that commercial client. Legal name of the business change, mailing address change, has there been a change in ownership? What is new with your business? New services, tell us about them. New products, tell us about them. Machinery, tell us about them. So all these different things have conditional logic built into them such that the client doesn't have to answer questions that are not relevant to them. Did your business purchase or lease machinery equipment? Real property review. So again, the client can select which sections are applicable to them. If they're not applicable, they deselect the box and it removes those questions. All right, so we'll just zip through this. Commercial auto review, purchased any new vehicles, any new drivers, business staffing, how many employees do you have? Do you want to exclude partners from workers' compensation? Does your business utilize subcontractors? And then it talks about some coverages that we as agents might want to make our clients aware of and get their thoughts on whether or not they would like that coverage. Okay, so again, they can put some comments down here. If they have some files they want to upload, they can do that. Are you ready to submit? Yes, submit. Very simple. Condominium cooperative evaluation. So if you have a monoline co-op or condo policy, this is a great form to send to them to get some updated risk information on the condo co-op. Things like trusts, are they doing any renovations? And I think a lot of people who aren't using digital forms today, you'd be surprised. Clients fill these things out very quickly. So you send the email, they get the link. A lot of them go right to the link and fill it out, and you get the information back right away. So it can really streamline that process. The excess flood renewal risk evaluation, this is great to evaluate your excess flood policy to show the difference between the expiring and the renewal terms, and to do a quick analysis on that. It helps do the math. Flood risk evaluation. This is a good one if you want to evaluate flood risk for a client. Do you have a flood policy in place today? Yes. Do you have an excess flood? So it encourages them to buy excess flood. Do you have an elevation certificate? Please upload. What are the risk mitigation factors you have? Have you done any renovations? Is there a trust? Are there any outbuildings that you need a separate flood policy for? So it identifies that exposure. So it helps identify a lot of these things, again, that we might not have time to. Personal address change form. This is a great form to stick on your website, put a link to it so that you can just offer that service to someone if they feel they want to change their address. Now, here is an interesting one, and this is actually what we were calling our form of the week. And I selected this because we are in the middle of real estate season, if you will. A lot of people buying homes these days. So this form was designed because one of our users asked us to put it together to help identify exposures related to a move from one location to another. So I'll just go through the questions real quick. What date is the personal property going to be packed and shipped approximately? What date will be installed at the new location? What's the value of the property being moved? Select the types of property being moved. So here, and I've even had this situation where someone moved and they had silverware stolen along the way. And so this form will help you identify those things you got to make sure you have coverage for. So if the client says, oh, we have some jewelry, but they don't have jewelry coverage, Okay, well then we've got to make sure we get some a floater in there to make sure it's properly covered. So they can select the different types of property that they want to cover. And again, this was based on analysis of condo and homeowners policies to see where property was excluded during the move, or limited. Do you have valuable articles in place to cover the transit? No. Will you be transporting property that you don't own? Will any of your property be placed into a storage facility as part of this move? Coverage considerations. Is your personal property limit adequate? Is your deductible adequate? Did you confirm the replacement cost coverage of your personal property while it's in transit? Will you be staging residents when you're selling or rented furniture or other decorative property? So on and so forth. So it really helps identify a lot of things that are involved with a move that we might not have time to. And it puts a systematic process to that conversation with the client. The client says, hey, I'm moving. You say, great. I'm going to send you a quick email with a questionnaire. I need you to fill it out so that we can make sure we identify any risks or exposures that we might have missed. Okay? And so there's template emails that I have built to incorporate this form into it, and certainly you can do the same. So that's it. That's a very useful form. Personal liability evaluation. This is great to update an umbrella policy. Sometimes we have umbrella policies with third-party companies that aren't integrated with the carrier, or the carrier doesn't update the policy. And so we want to get some updated information from the client, about their risks, about their net worth, about their trusts and business, their vehicles, their watercraft, and they can really quickly do that through this form. Moving on, and I'll just zip through these. Residential water shutoff valve. This is great to send to a client to gather information about their home that will help you as an agent determine what type of device will be best for them. Residential wood burning stove is a good one. If you have a home that has a wood burning stove, you want to get information to submit a form to a carrier. That's a great form to do that with. And valuable articles. This is a great example of one of the risk evaluation forms that can be used to help cross-sell. So if you run a list in your agency management system that says all my clients who don't have a valuable articles policy, you can send those existing clients and a valuable articles risk evaluation, where they can select the types of property they own, and it allows them to tell you what items they have and if they'd like to have coverage for those. So that's a great one. You can send in a marketing campaign with a form letter that you send to the client through email, along with a link to that form. Valuable articles collection risk evaluation. This is similar, but it goes much deeper in terms of the information it asks about valuable articles. Do you have a domestic employee? Do you have part-time? Is there a safe on premises? Is there a safe at the residence? Other security measures. Do you own or regularly use any other residences? How many residences? What's the address? What type of property is at the secondary residence? Is the secondary residence? So it goes into much more detail about how to protect collections and valuable articles. And then the last one is watercraft hurricane preparedness plan. This is great, especially for clients with boats in hurricane exposed areas like Florida. It asks the name of the marina, where the marina is located, and what plan they have in place. Is it a haul out with storage inside, or a haul out with outside storage? And if you select one of these options, it asks additional questions specifically about that plan that they can answer. Okay, and so this is very helpful in identifying potential credits as well that could be added to the client's policy. They can sign down here in the signature panel and print their name, put today's date. They can upload any files, hit submit, and the data is sent to you. Okay, so that is all of our risk evaluations, just kind of zipping through them very quickly. I do want to leave some time for questions at this time, so I'm going to, let's see, I'm going to go back to the dashboard. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And then if anybody has questions, just feel free to put them in the chat box, and I will take a look at those. And while we're waiting for some questions, here's one. I like your forms, but what if there is a question I would like to add to the form? Can that be done? So great question. So we have a very large community of users at this point, which is very exciting because we're getting a lot of feedback from them. And they're saying, you know, I'm in Ohio, or I'm in California, I'm in Florida. Can you add this specific question to this form so that we can gather that data point for our clients? So the answer in 90% of the time is yes. We want these forms to be crowdsourced to a certain extent and to incorporate that knowledge from around the country into that one form using conditional logic so that it is as comprehensive a form as possible. So the answer is most of the time, so we'll get the feedback from our users. Most of the time we'll be able to put that question into the form as well. So thank you for that question. While we're waiting for other questions, I wanted to share with you. So again, we have non-users and users on the call. Here's another quick question. I'll jump there next. Is there a way to automate forms being sent, i.e. 60 days prior to renewal? So not through the RiskRevu platform, but if you have a CRM system or an agency management system that has that capability within it, you can certainly set up those automations and have the link be incorporated into that. And with respect to the Zapier webhooks, absolutely. So say, for example, you use MailChimp or another email marketing tool, Constant Contact. You will be able to set up a Zapier webhook through Zapier to grab the information from a form and send it directly to MailChimp to trigger an automation. So absolutely, you can do that using Zapier and a third-party CRM. What I was going to say is there are 3 types of plans. There is the individual plan, which costs $29 per month. There's a 15-day free trial for all of our plans. The individual plan comes with 10 responses per month. The agency plan is $99 a month, and it comes with 100 responses per month. And the enterprise plan is $249 per month and comes with 50 users and unlimited responses. So for our users who are doing marketing campaigns using our forms or are getting, potentially hundreds or thousands of responses per month, we recommend the enterprise plan. Okay. Any other questions? Here's a question. Does each plan give me access to all forms? The answer is yes. Every plan has access to all forms. So thank you for that question. Is there any other questions before we sign off? Excellent. Well, thank you to everybody for your time today. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedules to join me to discuss RiskRevu. If you have any questions or would like to speak with me, please feel free to email us at info@riskrevu.com and we can answer any questions. We could also set up a demo if you like. Thank you for your time today and have a great day.